All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the patience here. We just wanted to give a couple of extra minutes for everybody to get started. This is Natter. Let me go ahead and turn on my camera here. We also have Scotty here on the line. All right. Hey, guys. Say hi, Scotty.
Hey everyone.
All right. Fantastic. So we appreciate the time. Like we said, we're just going to go over, wanted to update you guys with some of the great stuff that we've been working on. A lot of you guys, we saw you at CEDIA, which has been great. Then for a lot of you guys, it might be new for you. So without further ado, we'll get started here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the side channel over there. Scotty or myself will be going through there, monitoring those, answering them in real time for you. Also, at the end of each section, we'll stop and periodically go through some of those questions as well to answer. And again, feel free, put them in the side so they're documented so we can go through and answer them for you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here first. Just a quick intro of who's here, of who we are. I'm Natter. I might have spoken with a lot of you guys before. I head up business development here at Josh. And then we have Scotty, who's our head of product. I'm going to start first by talking about sort of the business side of things. The great thing is, since a lot of you guys came and saw us at CEDIA, you already know Josh, you know the pitch of it, you know the background of it. But I'm just going to go over some basic sales pieces here so we can sort of further refine the pitch for you. And then a lot of it will be focused on a lot of the new exciting features and products or parts of the product that we've released this year as well as at CEDIA. All right, so without further ado, here we go. So like I said, basically we have between 100 and 200 people here so far. Based on all you guys who signed up, roughly half of you guys are current Josh dealers, half of you guys we've spoken to before or just new to Josh. So we're gonna keep it to make sure we give value to everybody here and keep this moving that way. And like I said, I'm gonna cover first the piece of it, of sales piece of it, and then we'll move over and let Scotty talk about some of the more product related ideas. All right, so when we talk about our story, again, a lot of you guys know at least you came and saw us at CEDIA. The majority of you do. So hopefully you've seen Josh, you've seen it happen in person. But we have to talk about the story of how we got here, and you really can't talk about the story of how we got here without really talking about the passion of our founders, Alex and Tim. Many of you guys have likely met Alex. Hopefully you've heard him speak, and Tim as well. We're the company's headquartered out of Denver, with offices also in Southern California. But really this really built out the passion for both Alex and Tim to really be able to have a great experience with technology. They're both technologists, and really the interface between how we as humans interact with that technology around us, that's really what we want to be able to do. And this sort of came out of a passion project for Tim. First of all, if you ask him, he'll tell you he's always wanted a house that he could talk to. And that's kind of what happened here. So about 9 years ago, Tim started building the basis of what Josh is now, the AI of it in his own home. And so even though the company itself were only about 4 years old, the technology underlying Josh really is going on a decade of work here. And about 3 years ago, we started shipping our first version of Josh, which is on the Mac Mini. Some of you guys here on the webinar actually were with us during that time, so you probably have a Mac Mini with you that's still in use. But then a year and a half ago, we launched what is now what we call Josh Micro, which is now what Josh really is, the hardware device. So the Mac Mini has gone away now, and so now Josh Micro is really what runs the entire home, which is this intelligent home control system with the voice control really built into it. And so when we talk about us as a company, and what our vision is and what we see the future of the home to be, we don't believe that voice is something that everyone knows us for. But as I mentioned before, we're not just a voice company. We're really interested in that interface. Like I said, when we look at the future of the home, it's not going to be just one thing. So it's not going to be voice. It's not going to be light switches. The interface is never going to be an or. It's going to be an and, voice and light switches and remote controls. All these things is really what will make up the interface of the home. And so that's what we see here, voice control systems. We believe that there will be artificial intelligence coming into this, your home really learning from you, really being able to make recommendations to you. And really in the end, it's what's really important when it comes down to all this is privacy. And that's really the big response we're getting from everyone as well too. The privacy aspect of our system as well as any sort of AI system in the home. All right, so just a quick note on who we are as a company. So this is our latest and greatest picture from Cedia. We've been getting bigger and bigger every year. And we were happy to see you guys over at Cedia and get a live demo for the first time on the floor. We had a nice demo room. So it's great to see the company growing every year. Okay, so what exactly is Josh? For those of you who don't know, you might have seen our videos. Again, you probably know us for voice. And while that all is true, really, Josh can be thought of as more than just one thing. So the hardware device is the Josh Micro, which is what you see here on the screen. And that's what the voice interface, that's how you can talk to Josh. But it also consists of other UIs as well, too. So Josh also comes with a full app that can be run on the iPhone, iPad, as well as web tools. So we have browser-enabled, browser-based tools that you can log in from anywhere in the world as long as you can get to a web browser. So as you see, you can interface with Josh by talking to it. You have the full phone app where you can tap and swipe and create custom buttons. So it really could be, you can certainly talk to Josh and just use it for the voice interface, but you certainly can use it as sort of a whole home interface to control your whole home at one time. So, you'll hear us pitching Josh in a number of different ways, but here's one way that you can think of it. Josh is a privacy-focused AI platform that sits on top of all the technology in your home to give you a natural, elegant, and secure automation experience. And so these are the products, kind of like I mentioned before. You have the Micro, which is the hardware device. That's the IP-enabled device that sits on the network, scans the network, and auto-populates everything and communicates with everything. All of the AI, the natural language processing piece of it, is actually run locally on that device as well, too. It also has a touch interface with it as well too, so it becomes this dynamic sort of interface. You can slide your finger around the LEDs and adjust volume, lighting levels. So it really, like I said, it becomes this multifunction sort of device. But then along with the hardware device, there's also the software component, which is what the web portal is, which is what you see here, along with the iOS apps. And so when we talk about Josh, really we built this for this industry, for our channel, to solve our channel specific problems. One, Josh should be easy enough to install for homeowners to use, really without training or minimal training. When we're in the custom channel, so minimal training is required, and we want to make this system as intuitive as possible. And we always keep that in mind when we're designing solutions here. Also, for you guys as integrators, there's no custom programming necessary. It's all config based. So part of what happens is when you sign on to become a Josh dealer, we do have a training program that you guys go through. And once you have that, then you'll be able to set up Josh on your own. But again, and it's important to go through the training and understand all the intricacies of Josh. But the great thing is it's no new programming language you have to learn. Which again, we kept that in mind because we figured if it's easy for you guys to install, it'll lead to a much more stable experience for the end user. Also, it's priced for our channel. You guys make 50 points on everything you guys do for what you install. It's built for the future. All you have to do is install the hardware once, and you never have to make another truck roll out to site again as far as updates go. We update everything remotely. It gets better and better over time. And then when it comes down to it, really, the user experience really is the most important thing. So why Josh, right? So what is you've heard of all these other voice pieces out there. When we talk about voice specifically, why would you do Josh from just a voice perspective or even from a standalone perspective, control system perspective? And really what it comes down to is this. This has become the biggest piece that people have been responding to and clients have been responding to lately. And it comes down to data privacy. So the mass market, the big tech companies, their model is not necessarily to sell you a voice control system. Many of you here have probably used Alexa on top of Control 4 or on top of Crestron. And what you guys tell us is it's a very clunky sort of experience. And that makes sense because, again, if you think about it, how does Amazon and Google make its money? They don't make its money by selling you guys a smart home. They make their money by selling the data, right? Google makes its money by selling ads, which is seeded by data. And so it makes sense that that's how they're going to innovate. That's what's driving their business. As opposed to Josh, we are an AI company. We do gather data, but all the data we gather is used exclusively to make the product experience better. We're not in the business of selling data at any time. But that being said, we give our users the option to opt out of data collection at any point in time if they so choose. So just to kind of illustrate this experience, illustrate this example. This is one I like to talk about all the time. This is a patent that we saw that Amazon actually filed last year, and it's a patent for some sort of passive listening device. As you can see, some sort of tablet-like device that's passive listening and building profiles on the users. You can see in this case, it's someone named Laura who has kids wanting to come to Southern California to go to the zoo. And so it's really important when you put these sort of devices in your client's home that you understand really what's being gathered and what the product itself is actually there for and what it's doing. Number two, this also has always been the biggest selling point for Josh is its capabilities. We're purpose-built for home control, so you can do a lot more advanced things, such as compound commands, deep linking for video, media, and Josh also has cool features like memory, which we call anaphora, built into it. Josh is more than voice. As I showed you guys, we also have come with a full app. So you certainly can layer Josh on top of Crestron or Control 4, but also, depending on the setup in the house, Josh could be the standalone control system. Also, it allows for personalizations. You guys are the integrators setting this up for your clients. And so you guys are going to tailor it to their likings. You guys also have a direct line to us. So if you need new features or any sort of new requests, call us up and we'll work on that for you. You can't do that with any of these other big tech products. And then finally, it's built for the future. Like I mentioned, you install Josh once, it gets updated automatically over time, and the product just keeps getting better and better. And so here's when we talk about pitching Josh, this is a summary of these 5 pitches, which can really help drive home the point about why Josh is really the product of choice here. I talked about Amazon and Google, so I can kind of just go over this slide. But again, this kind of just summarizes where they weren't really built for home control or our industry. Whereas with Josh, we really were, and this is what we're building for. So when we talk about client projects, what are some good client projects to put Josh into? And right now, when we look at our current dealers who are selling Josh, this is where it's fitting into. Layering it on top of an existing control system, such as Crestron or Control 4, or selling it as a standalone control system. Chad, who's our sales guy, likes to call this a sandbox system. And we'll take a look real quick at what each one of these looks like. But for layering it on top of Crestron and Control 4, what we found is that our integrators have been able to use this as a new source of revenue, reaching out to existing clients where you actually have projects that are out there. I know that everyone, you guys are great at chasing the latest and greatest big six-figure projects, but there is also a large source of untapped potential here, engaging your current customers. And we found that our integrators are using Josh to actually do exactly that. So this will open up another potential revenue source for you guys. And then on top of Crestron and Control 4, we control lights, shades, thermostats, locks, scenes. And the great thing is we do distributed AV. And that's what makes it so, that's what also gives it such a magical experience. When you look at Josh selling it as a standalone control system, we control all those environmentals. Here are some examples: lights and shades, Lutron, TV, music players, Sonos, video content, music content. We also have partnered with Atlona and Sonance and Audio Control to do distributed video and audio, as well as these IP-enabled thermostats, locks, and cameras. So again, I'm sure you guys might have some of these jobs that are these $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 jobs where you just kind of want to throw something on top of that. They're all IP-based. Josh could be the controller in that aspect, and it works out really well from what we've seen. Here's some more. Here's some more list of our works with page. We have this all on our website as well too, if you guys would like to check it out. Here's an example. If you guys have ever seen our videos online, this is a 10,000 square foot home. Josh is the lone controller. Lighting is done with Ketra. TV is Sony and Roku. Music would be Sonos. Garage is Lutron. There's big ass fans. HVAC is Ecobee. IC real-time cameras and shades are Lutron. And like I said, Josh is the lone control system pulling it all together there. All right, so going through here, pricing. As far as Josh goes, we are a dealer-only product. We don't sell to consumers, so we don't publish any pricing, so all of this is confidential to you guys. And the dealer cost is the one in black. So dealer cost is $299 for the Josh Micro, and the MSRP, the suggested retail, is $599. And again, this is for the Micro itself, for the hardware. So this is the actual controller. You need one of these to run the whole Josh software in the house. The idea is that these have the microphones built in, so you can put multiple ones throughout the home wherever you want voice control, but you technically only need one. And this can be hardwired into the network via PoE, or it can run via Wi-Fi with power outlet to the wall. All right, and so from a hardware perspective, it's $299 for the micros, but we also have software tiers here as well too. So the software is now tiered based on the number of rooms, which you see on the left, as well as the length of the license here. And feel free to call me up and we can talk about this in more detail. But this is made so it can be accessible from anywhere from a $200 license and scaling up to $6,000. And just to kind of illustrate that, here's an example where you have a one small starter project, one Josh Micro, 5 rooms, $1,000 MSRP, $500 to you guys. And if you can see, that scales all the way up to the right, a very large home, 12 Josh Micros, unlimited room license, essentially almost 20 grand in product, and that's 10 grand to you guys as a dealers just in product. So it can be scaled to be very, very profitable for you guys. And from a sales and marketing perspective, we're here to help you guys sell. If you guys are interested in becoming a dealer, it's a $2,000 fee to join. That gets you 2 Josh Micros. It gets you all the software you need to demo in your showroom or your home, as well as training and support. And we view you guys as partners, so we're here to help co-market with you. We've got images, blog posts. We have a budget credit for you guys for marketing, and we have a ton of stuff online, social media, videos, brochures, stuff like that to help you guys sell. So just to kind of sum that up real fast, this is myself and my team. This is me and my team. You guys might have interacted with any one of us. Bridget and Casey, those are the guys you'll see if you guys sign on to become dealers. We'll come out and train you guys. And then Chad, we brought on as our national sales director about 2 months ago. So if you guys have any questions beyond, after you guys get trained or need anything, feel free to reach out to Chad or any one of us, and we're happy to help. All right, so at that point, I'm just going to stop it right here and just stop if there's any questions. Scotty, did you notice any questions to come in here?
Yeah, there was one question that came in around will the web interface work with Android phones? Maybe you could just elaborate on our current Android support and sort of how we see end users using the client product.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, the way you interact with Josh, like I mentioned, is the integrator tools are really designed to be used via the web interface, which is browser-based. And then the UI that can be used by the end user as well as the integrator is iPhone app-based. We don't have any Android interface at this time. It is something that we would be working on in the future, but as of right now, there is no Android app.
All right, and one more just came in. We had an integrator fill out the form at Cedia, but is there anything else they need to get the ball rolling as a dealer? What really is involved to get started?
Yeah, so essentially what will happen is if we haven't reached out to you already, we'll be reaching out to you soon. And it'll just involve a conversation with us, just talk more about your business. And then to sign up, we'll essentially send you our link. If it works out to become a Josh dealer, we'll send you our link and you will pay the $2,000 fee. And then we'll reach out to you to schedule your training, which means we'll come out to you if it's easy to get out to you and set up that training so we can take you through the system and have a full Josh system running in your own place. The trainings typically last a full day, and it covers sales as well as technical pieces of it as well too. There typically is some pre-training materials we'll send to you. We'll ask you guys to review ahead of time, and there will be an examination required as well too.
All right, cool. And then maybe take one more, and then maybe you can monitor the chat history as we move on to the other items. Is there, let's see, do we offer a demo license so an integrator could set up a system at a customer's home to evaluate?
Yeah, so a demo license for a customer. So we do, Josh is fully refundable within 30 days. So if you do install it at someone's home, you will have the option to return it if it just doesn't work out, not what you guys wanted. So we do have those options, and we can work with you guys on a case-by-case basis around those.
All right, Nader, there's some more in chat history, so maybe go through those as we kind of step into the next part,
okay.
If that sounds good.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Thanks, Nader. Again, my name is Scotty. I lead the product team here at Josh, and we wanted to get into some of our exciting and nice announcements that we had at Cedia and really in 2019. This has been a big year for us in terms of development. We're very development heavy as a company, And so we have a lot of exciting announcements that we wanted to share. So first, I just sort of took the slide that Nader shared earlier with what Josh works with, and I highlighted all the areas that have been significantly improved over the course of this last year in 2019. A lot of these integrations are new, and many of them have had a sort of new life breathed into them. And so we'll spend a little bit of time talking about some of these in more detail and really the benefits that we're seeing as they're being deployed. So when we think about the big items this year that we launched, distributed audio and video is really key. It really changes the game for voice control in large homes where you have rack-mounted tech and you want to be able to give voice commands to route that content. We'll talk about voice enhancements in general, things that you can do with Josh that you weren't able to do last year, or maybe even when some of you guys installed your first Josh system. Data privacy, as Nader talked about, is key for us, and we have a lot of advancements we're constantly adding in that space. And then our Crestron and Control4 integrations, really being the cherry on top of other control systems so you can grow your pipeline and your existing revenue from your client base. And then finally, we have a new Josh app coming out really soon, so I'll show you some screenshots of what that looks like and how that experience is changing a little bit. So up first, let's talk about distributed audio and video. So when a client wants to give a command like, okay, Josh, watch ABC News, this environment's kind of been seen with voice in a lot of different ways. We have Comcast remotes out there where clients are able to pick them up and kind of give a similar command. You may have an Echo talking to an Amazon Fire TV. All these situations involve a client talking directly to a TV in a room that they're in and using a voice input that's in that room. None of these deployments that we see from other voice type products in the market really allow you to control a true matrix type environment. So in the world that we all work in, with large tech closets and lots of gear, the scenario looks more like this one, where that TV content, the source of that is coming from a tech closet. There's maybe a matrix switch and multiple video sources involved. And so pulling this off becomes a lot more complex, making a successful response to a client asking, okay, Josh, watch ABC News. So let's talk a little bit about the scenario and what Josh would do in this environment. So we launched a brand new distributed audio and video package this year that can sit on top of Crestron, Control4, or any of the other directly controlled devices and matrix switchers that Josh can manage directly. So in this scenario, let's just sort of step through what Josh would do. So the first thing is when Josh hears this command, Josh is going to wake up and we'll start our natural language processing, or NLP. This is essentially where we convert, okay, Josh, watch ABC News, to a string of text, and then we convert that text into something that makes sense to us. And so in this case, Josh is determining that ABC News is some sort of video content, and in this case, it's a live TV cable channel. So once Josh determines that, it kind of looks and sees what we have available to control in our space. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and begin to route the distributed video in that home. So Josh is going to tell the matrix switch to route the cable input to the living room. Now notice the client didn't have to say any of this. We know this because the micro's in the client's room that they're talking in, and that the video content is coming from a cable input. So we begin to route we do the AV routing in the tech closet. And then finally, at the same time, we're actually going to go ahead and directly control that source. So we know that ABC News is available through a set-top box, and in this case, we're going to turn that set-top box to channel 7. So there's a lot going on in the background here for Josh to be able to complete that command successfully in a large distributed audio and video environment. So to give a little overview of kind of brands and things like that we can control in this space, on the right-hand side, I've put in some of our announcements this year, and you can see sort of what sort of brands you could slot in to make this environment work. But I really want to highlight this in sort of a real setup and how you would configure it. So next, let's talk about sort of a scenario of a home where we would have distributed video and how we would configure this in the Josh system. So let's imagine that we have a home with sort of 3 different rooms. You have a conference room and there's a TV endpoint there, an area called the Nook, and then maybe the entryway. This is actually something that we have set up here in our test labs in Denver, and is something that we demo live. If you're ever in the area, we'd be happy to show you how it works. What I'm going to show you is Josh acting as the control system itself. So there's no Control4 or Crestron in this setup. But when we're controlling the matrix switchers directly, there's no reason why we couldn't be sitting on top of another control system to do something very similar. But in this case, let's just look at Josh acting as the control system itself. So these three rooms will all have content coming from a tech closet somewhere. So let's imagine that we have an Atlona matrix switch. That's actually what we have set up here. And then we have 6 inputs. So we have Xfinity from Comcast, which is a new announcement for us at CEDIA, Dish Network as well, which is a new announcement this year. And then we have 3 Rokus available to do streaming content from Netflix, Amazon Prime, and other sources like that, YouTube. And then we have a custom input where we can pull up the cameras in any room. And that would be a custom input, just like if we were to pull up a VCR or something like that. So in this case, this is what we see in the tech closet. We would do a little bit of routing to make sure all those devices can get to their endpoints. And that's sort of what the scenario looks like. But on the Josh side, Nader talked about our portal. The portal is where you can go ahead and configure the Josh system in a client's home. So let's next take a jump into that and see how you'd make this environment a reality through Josh's portal. So here's a screenshot or a look into what our setup looks like. Those of you who have not seen our portal, this is all new to you. So I'm only going to go through this at a high level. But on the left-hand side, you can see we've dove into an area called distributed AV. And you can see there's a list of receivers and amplifiers. There's an Onkyo one there. Next, you can see a video matrix switcher. That's actually what I'm clicked on here. That's our Atlona video matrix switcher. And so in the main screen, I can see that we have 5 inputs configured and then 3 outputs. So we have those cameras that I talked about. We have a Dish set-top box, and then 3 Rokus also configured to that stack in the tech closet. Below that, you can see all the outputs. So I have a conference TV, an entrance TV, and then the Nook TV. So these are really the 3 places that video can be distributed to. In this case, we had said there were 6 options, so we actually need to go ahead and add Comcast to this environment. So I'm going to add that Xfinity box, and I can do it just by clicking on the right-hand side there under the inputs where it says Add Inputs. So when I do that, I'm going to be able to see that we have 1 input left on that Atlona matrix switcher, and it's HDMI 5, excuse me. And when I click there, we're going to be able to go ahead and select what source we want to add. So now I'm pulling up the sources that are available, and Josh is detecting on the network. So Josh is saying, hey, I see that you have a Comcast Xfinity set-top box that isn't routed anywhere yet. Below, I can see all the sources that we've already routed in this system, but there's one that isn't assigned. Maybe that's the one we want to add here. In this case, it is. So I'm going to go ahead and select the Comcast box and then hit Next. And now we've added in that 6th input to this environment. So this is really all that's needed to be done for a customer to be able to give a command like the one we saw. Okay, Josh, watch ABC News. So we can route that to any of these spaces, and we'll know in this case that we'll pull it up from one of our streaming sources on the network. So that's how you configure an Atlona video matrix switch, and this is really key to how we can do distributed video and ultimately audio in the home. So that was a quick walkthrough. In a real training, we'd go in depth, but that gives you guys a little flavor of the power of Josh to be able to handle true matrix switchers in larger environments. So if we expand that case a little bit, I focused a lot on video there, but the same is true actually for audio in a large home as well. So imagine a client says, okay, Josh, play the Beatles. Again, the client didn't have to say where they were or where they want that content to come from, but Josh is going to go ahead and control the audio matrix switch in this case, or a Sonos directly. We're going to know where the user is because the micro is in that room and that's what Josh is talking to. And then we're going to know where to find the content because Josh controls the end sources as well. So we'll line up that video matrix switch, put the content directly to where the client is, and find the right source that can service up the correct content they requested. The second case there on your right hand of the screen is, okay, Josh, watch MTV everywhere. This is a case where a user can give specific locations of where they want that content to go, and Josh is going to make sure the routing or grouping is set up appropriately. So in this case, we would be turning all the TVs on to that video source and queuing it up to MTV. But this could be done with audio as well, where you could say, listen to the Beatles by the pool and in the kitchen. So audio and video distribution with Josh is really powerful for large projects that we see in the CI space. Up next, I'm going to talk about some voice enhancements. So voice is what we're known for most commonly in the industry, and we're constantly evolving how our features stack up against other general purpose assistants. We're lucky we get to focus on the home space because it changes our ability to make a higher level of success for our clients in the home space. So we can focus our natural language processing on home commands and the types of things that clients want to be successful in the home space. So with voice enhancements, I'm going to go through a couple big ones that we've had available for a while, and then I'll talk about the new ones that came out this year. So for those of you that are familiar with Josh, you know that we can do compound commands or complex commands. These are the types of commands that we see clients give when they're really comfortable with voice. So they'll say things like, okay, Josh, turn on the lights, close the blinds, and it's cold in here. Instead of giving 3 individual commands like, okay, Josh, turn on the lights, okay, Josh, close the blinds, okay, Josh, it's cold in here. By being able to string commands together like this, users can speak very naturally to the home. And we see after clients living with the product for a short period of time, they real quickly want to demand more, and they want to give more complex commands and really create almost scenes on the fly that allow them to really transform the space that they're in. So compound commands is definitely something cool that we've had on the voice side for a while. The other is anaphora. Anaphora is our ability to understand and track the context of a conversation that someone's having in the space. So if someone says, okay, Josh, turn it down, well, with no context, turn it down could refer to the thermostat, it could refer to the music or video, it could even refer to the lighting in that space, a fan. So there's lots of different ways this command could be interpreted. But Josh is smarter than that. Josh understands that through anaphora, what the previous state of the devices are and what the previous commands that in that space that were given. So for example, if I had given a command like, okay, Josh, listen to the Beatles, and then I followed it up later with, okay, Josh, turn it down, Josh is going to respond by adjusting the volume of that space. But similarly, if I gave a command, okay, Josh, it's cold, then I say, okay, Josh, turn it down, I know that we're referring to the thermostat. So Josh has a lot of intelligence, and that comes through a feature we call anaphora. Next, I want to talk about some of the new stuff that we announced at CEDIA. The first is future actions. This one's really cool. So you now have the ability to give future commands. So in this case, okay, Josh, turn off the kid's bedroom light in 15 minutes. That might have been a debate in a home of the past, but now a parent has the ability to essentially force the lights or the TV in a kid's room to be turned off at a certain time. Not just for managing children in the home. This is a really powerful tool when you're leaving the house, changing the temperature of the home at a later time, or just managing the lights in the general space. Not every command you want to give through voice you want to have happen instantaneously. And so future actions is a really cool new feature that we announced at CEDIA to help manage that. And then the next one is concise mode. So we talked a little bit about clients' adoption of voice and how they evolve. Compound commands is a good example of a more evolved voice user. Another one that may be interesting to introduce to clients is what we call concise mode. So in this example, we say, okay, Josh, open the shades a little bit. And Josh will just respond, okay. If you didn't have concise mode on, for a new user with voice, we recommend not having concise mode on, more of our standard responses. With standard responses, you could give the same command, okay, Josh, open the shades a little bit. But Josh would respond, okay, Scotty, the shades in the living room are now 50% or 20% open. So you get a more complex response that validates that the shades had in fact changed locations. That's helpful. It provides a lot of affirmation for a user that they're giving successful voice commands and that the space is changing appropriately. But for more advanced users, they don't want to hear all that response from Josh. They've seen the light, they saw the shades change, and they don't need the validation that it occurred. So concise mode allows Josh to respond in much shorter responses. So to configure concise mode, I want to show you how that would be done. So again, in our Josh portal, this is your online tool to configure Josh systems. I know this is a little small, but under personality info on the left-hand side, you can see that we have Josh response, and in this case, we chose concise. There's a drop down there. It can be concise or standard. This is really where Josh's personality currently shows 2 options, but really where it could grow over time. And you can imagine users wanting to interact with their home with sort of unique experiences to that space. And this is where you can configure that for Josh today. Next, I want to jump into data privacy and some of our new features to help you and your clients manage what is being shared with the home and really understanding exactly how Josh as a company is using data if you've given the company access to that. So as a company, we really do understand the importance of protecting your client data. Nader spoke about this previously, but it's a really key feature for us as a company and one that we extend to our integrators in that we're not in the business of reselling client data. We don't sell that data to third parties. And we charge a premium in order to make sure that clients' data is preserved versus, seeking revenue through marketing avenues and other channels that some of the other general purpose assistants currently pursue. So what's new with data privacy? For those of you familiar with the Josh system, we have a feature where you can enable and configure all the data privacy within Josh. Here I'm going to highlight some things that have been in the product and then some things that are new. So the first thing you see is an area called AI learning. This essentially allows Josh to learn from your client and better understand the environment that they're in so that we can make a better experience for that client going forward. So AI learning is going to look at some of the behaviors that the homeowner has and potentially recommend ways that they could better interact with their environment, or also when they open the Josh app, you'll see in a few moments where we provide recommendations based on the AI learning to make it more seamless what a client may want to do that time of day or the space that they're in. If you disable this, Josh does not capture any data from this home. We execute commands, and then none of that data is stored in our database or locally on the client system. Below that, you can see an area called chat history logging. Chat history is a nice tool for you as the integrator to be able to remotely support your clients. So for those of you that have installed voice products, a client may say, hey, I can't get the dining room lights to turn on. And they may call you. That could actually result in a truck roll. But if you have the ability to monitor the chat history or the transcripts of what have been said in that space, you could say, oh, they're referring to the dining room as the dinner area or the table lights. And so these nuances are things that clients themselves may not notice that they're changing their vernacular, but these are really easy aliases or nicknames that you can add to any environment. So having chat history logging is a great tool for you as an integrator, but it's not something that needs to be there all the time. So in the lower left, you can see that we have the feature to auto-delete chat history. So it may make sense for you and your client to not have chat history available in the cloud or on the Josh system, except for maybe the last 24 hours or 3 days or week. So those are new features that we now have available. So I'm just going to click ahead and kind of show you that drop down. Now you can select how often that chat history is available so that you can correctly support your client, but also your client understands what's available and how you can support that. And then the last feature on there is deleting chat history. At any point in time, you can delete everything that was said from the Josh system and the local system that you deployed in the cloud. So this gives you a lot of flexibility, again, to manage that client data. For us, we use it to make the client experience better, but for you, it's a tool to make sure you and your client have control over that data versus having it sold to third parties, again, for marketing and other reasons. So that's some cool new stuff around data privacy. Next, I want to talk about our Control4 and Crestron integrations. So we talk about this a lot. Josh is a great option for a standalone system, as Nader talked about. But when we are adding that extra flair to an existing project where someone wants to use their existing Control4 or Crestron integration, but we really want to add voice on top of that, Josh has really been working hard in the development team here to expand the types of devices that we support natively so that you don't have to create scenes or any additional work. But really, we can pull in all those devices natively so that people can talk naturally to homes that have Control4 and Crestron in them. So on the Control4 install side, Nader talked about this briefly, but really to have a great install, we recommend directly supporting devices. So you'll install a Control4 module on your Josh system or on the Control4 system, a Josh module onto your Control4 system. And then we'll pull in lights, thermostats, scenes, fans, and new this year, shades, locks, and distributed audio and video. So we've really rounded out what's available on the Control4 side to add a complete voice experience on top of that control system. Similarly, we've done a lot of work on the Crestron side. So on the simple side, we've added distributed audio and video with even support for the Crestron remotes. a little caveat there on the Crestron remotes. Now the voice button with the latest Crestron remotes, you could actually make Josh's commands go through that voice button. So there's a really tight integration with the simple interface for lights, shades, scenes, switches, and distributed audio and video. Then on the ping side, we didn't have ping support last year. So we added support for lights, shades, thermostats, locks, scenes, and quick actions. So really expanded and rounded out the ability to control a lot of devices within Crestron. So exciting stuff there, and obviously we're continuing to add support for all these devices as we continue to roll new updates that kind of happen automatically, as Nader said in the background. The last area I wanted to talk about was our updated Josh apps. So we currently have iOS apps for both iPad and the iPhone, and these are great end user tools to use when voice is not appropriate. So while we're commonly recognized as a voice company, we do have all the typical front ends you would see from a control system. So I wanted to share some of the new stuff coming out with our new iOS app. Some of this is released, most of it's coming out here before the end of the month. So the new iOS experience, this is our dashboard. If you haven't seen our app, the first thing you're going to see is the home that you're looking at. You as an integrator or as a homeowner will have access to multiple homes through this app. At the top there, we call our Denver office Samantha Creek. That could be the Aspen Cabin or the Beach House. Really could be any name, how you refer to your properties or your client does. The next thing you're going to see below that is a phrase, or really what we call our AI dash. So you can see it says, would you like to listen to something by the Moose on the Keys and that? I don't know who that group is, but someone here at our Denver office apparently likes that band because we've been listening to it for quite a bit. So there I could select, yes, I want to do that, and what speakers I want to play it on. So instead of going through the whole app and trying to get directly to what video or music player I want and then searching for that music, Josh is going to understand that that's music that we like to listen to in this space and recommend it as something that we can do as well. And then below that, we see active devices. So real quickly, I can take actions on any lights that are on, thermostats, if music was playing, if shades are open or doors are unlocked. It's a real nice area to make changes around environmentals, entertainment, or really home security. In addition to the front dashboard, you can have additional dashboards. So when you log in, you see the initial dash. I move that to the left. But if I just swipe right, I can see our main dashboard. And there you can see anything I've pinned to it. So you as the integrator can use the portal and create these custom dash for clients, or the clients may want to create specific ones themselves. In this case, the main dash is showing a good morning scene, a good night scene. We have a lunch scene, a stand-up scene. So various scenes that have been created in this environment. The user can just click those and trigger those. Similar, they could say, okay, Josh, good morning, and that scene would run in the home via voice. So a lot of flexibility with the iOS app. In the bottom right of both these screens, you can see a blue microphone as well. At any point, I can give a voice command directly to the app. That makes sense when you're out of the home and you say, okay, Josh, I'm coming home, and it may change the temperature. Or at any point when you don't want to be announcing something into a room or if a room does not have a micro, you can give commands in that space just from the control within your pocket. And the last area I wanted to show on the app, we'll walk you a little bit more through it, and then we'll sort of end at our new remote that we launched inside the app. So on the left-hand side, you can just kind of see a little bit of the navigation that you would be exposed to with the app. We have rooms being displayed on the left, and then our devices being displayed on the right. We find that users either navigate by what room they want to control or what type of device they want to control. So it's nice you can really come into the app from both experiences. There at the very bottom of the right-hand picture, I have video. If I were to click on that, we're going to pull up our video players that are available in the home. So these are the same ones that we saw in that demo earlier. So I have a conference TV, an entry TV, a Nook TV, and I can really drill down further and directly control any of the devices in those spaces. And that's with our new app that we launched this year at CEDIA. So that's the final image I'm populating there on the right, our new iOS remote. You can see we're controlling a conference room TV. In this case, the Roku Ultra is available as a source to control. And then you have sort of swipe tactile control to move the cursor on the screen, as well as direct control on the bottom to turn on the TV, go back, forward, home, and so forth. These remotes, you can select different sources, and Josh is essentially populating the types of controls that you would see with that handheld remote. We do realize that this doesn't replace tactile remotes, but it's a great feature for the iPad or for a customer that does like that type of control. So we're excited to have that this year and really expand the iOS experience. And with that, I wanted to jump into just a couple other announcements that we don't have time to dive into in person, but really show great in showrooms and have been fun for our current dealers to begin playing with. So this year we announced our Ketra integration, which allows us to control lights via Kelvin by making the lights warmer or cooler. I think we support over 500 colors, so forest green, things like that, and really fun to see Ketra built out into scenes for clients to really adapt their environment. So that's a fun one for us that we worked really closely with Lutron on. The second one there is VoiceCast. VoiceCast is a feature that we worked on in partnership with Sonos, and this allows you to have a room speak back to you. So sometimes when we think about voice control, we're used to looking at smaller devices like a Josh Micro or an Echo Dot or another sort of puck-like device. With Josh, you obviously install that on the wall, so that's different in sort of how it appears. But we designed Josh to never play music back through it. We know there's high-end audio in the room, and we want to leverage that high-end audio for not only music, but also for Josh's response. So with VoiceCast, you can say things to Josh, and Josh's response will come back through the whole room. So it's a really immersive experience. And then the final one I wanted to chat about was audio ducking. So this is another new feature for us, but it's really cool, again, when Josh is controlling a nice home distributed audio system, or where Sonos or other music players are available in that space, but you may have built-in audio in that room. So in this case, maybe you're cranking some tunes and you want to give a command to lower the lights or change the shades or lock the doors. That can be hard when it's a noisy space. So when Josh is listening for its wake word, okay, Josh, the moment it hears that, it's actually going to lower the audio in the room so the user doesn't have to yell over the ambient noise in that space to be able to control that space. And so audio ducking is, again, a really cool feature that shows well in showrooms and really client installs. But another cool feature that I wanted to at least highlight here that we can talk about when we do installs and direct client trainings. All right, so that brings us to the end. We have a lot of stuff happening in chat history, I can see that, but I wanted to open up and see if Nader had any specific ones that we wanted to call out. And while Nader's doing that, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and keep posting them in chat. We'll spend some time here at the end of the WebEx and make sure we answer all your questions.
Yeah, so Scotty, if you could just, there are a couple of things I think that would be good to touch on. Cody asked, what sort of internet bandwidth is required for a Josh system to function reliably? Can Josh work on a LAN that is fully isolated from the internet?
Good questions. So one, when we work with dealers, we do recommend that clients that you're implementing Josh into, you have a good understanding of how their network is set up, or you work closely with another network provider that can help make adjustments when you're in there. Josh does require going out to an automatic speech recognition platform. That's a service that's offered in the cloud, in the Josh Cloud. And so essentially when someone is speaking and giving a command, we have to have a connection to the outside world in order to process that command and turn it into a text string that we can work with. So obviously internet connectivity comes in and is really important. One of our founders has a home in a space that doesn't have access to good internet connectivity, and Josh is not an option for that space right now. So we can work with you guys on better understanding networks and tune those environments, but it is a good question and definitely one worth shedding light on too, because it's important for a good voice experience.
One other one I think is really good. David was asking, can Josh know a specific user or voice so a child does not have certain control? Or can we simply limit the control of specific users?
Yeah, that's a good one. And we didn't get too much time today to talk about user permissions and roles, but it's a really cool feature that maybe we'll follow up with another WebEx on, because in itself, it's a very large topic. So while Josh today does not understand individual users or does not recognize individual users based on voice, and one of the reasons for that is that technology is still really evolving. And especially in the home space, you see the biggest conflict where users will sound similar. A mother in a home may sound like the daughter. And so it's actually the most difficult space to parse that and have success with recognizing voices. That being said, our user roles and permissions that we're rolling out now allow you to assign micros certain controls. So maybe in this case, there is a child who has a room that they don't want to have control of the rest of the house, maybe just the lights in that room. You could set up that Josh micro so it can only control the space, that child's room. It doesn't have access to control the master suite or the front door lights or unlock the door. So you have micro level controls, and then you have user level controls similar to what you would see from other control systems.
All right, fantastic. And I think there was one more here that was a good one. Let me just scroll down here to it before. Yeah, so Ryan was asking, voice ducking, will it be coming to other amplifiers like Crestron? It looked only shown with Sonos.
Yeah, good question. So ducking is an interesting feature that Sonos did have an API for. We actually chose not to use that API initially. So we support ducking by actually just Josh controlling the audio in that room. So we are rolling it out across other services. So we support HEOS as direct control. And then even in some cases, like if you have audio behind some levels of distributed audio and so forth, we're working on rolling that out there as well. So it's not limited to Sonos. It's not a specific API that we need to work with them. But VoiceCast is. So VoiceCast is only available with our Sonos partnership.
One thing I see people are asking about is Josh's availability outside the United States. So currently, Josh is available in English only, and therefore also available in North America. So we were previously just focused on the United States, but we are now working with Canadian dealers. But unfortunately, outside of North America, Josh is not available in Mexico or anywhere else at this point. But feel free to keep in touch with us. We do plan to expand eventually internationally. As you guys can imagine, voice itself, even just in English, is even just speaking English itself can be complicated. So bringing on other languages is something we would be looking into, but that's way in the future. All right, just kind of scrolling through here. I know it's great to see you guys have so many questions. We're going to make this webinar available offline afterwards, which should include a transcript, I think, of all the questions that are asked here. So if we don't get to your question now, we'll definitely take the time to go through and answer the question in the chat here if we haven't gotten to it yet. So let's see. So Andres is asking, will Josh be able to identify a room by different names, like master bed, master bedroom, or guest room, and guest bed or guest room? Yeah, so Josh has a feature that we included very early on called aliasing. So you can actually give multiple names for the same room, but it works also with the device level too. So same room, same device. You know, say you call this room the living room, but someone else in your house calls it the family room, and yet someone else calls it the TV room. All those three names should refer to the same thing. And with Josh, you can easily, via configuration-based, via the web portal as well as the app, you can add these aliases on the fly.
And I guess maybe we'll just go to the top of the hour and get as many of these in. Alan had asked, with audio ducking, does it only happen in the room you're in, or does it turn down all the other speakers like Alexa does? So great question. Audio ducking, since Josh knows where the user is speaking, we only turn down the audio in that room. So we're able to control that space directly.
Specifically, Matt, you're asking about what products will VoiceCast work with. It essentially we use Sonos's new API. So any of the new hardware that Sonos releases will work. And specifically, that is the new Sonos port, the new Sonos amp that was released a few months ago, the newer Play 5s that you can use it with. We have a complete list that we can send you as well too with that. But essentially, any of the newer hardware with Sonos will use the new API, which means VoiceCast will work for that.
Robert had one about, will support for Crestron Home be there as ping goes away? And yes, obviously, we're transitioning some of our testing there and so forth, but all that's sort of built on the backbone of ping. So, next iterations for us there, things that we're looking into are audio and video control behind ping specifically.
I see Michael Floyd, he I guess did a quick search on Google Play and found the Josh Android app there. And yes, it's true. We do have a Josh Android app, but it hasn't been updated as much as our iOS app, which is why we just say we officially only support the iOS. And this really comes from customer demand. We found that the majority of the end user clients that we have up there are using the iOS app as opposed to Android. And that's why I'm saying that eventually the Android app will be coming, but as of right now, the focus has been the iOS app.
A good one that I didn't touch on, so I'm glad Michael asked this, is Comcast or Xfinity Control currently available? So we announced this at CEDIA, and we are code complete on it. It will be pushing out to Comcast set-top boxes in October. We think the outside date on that is October 15th, so you should see it before then.
Jonathan, you're asking about YouTube TV. Can we control channels on YouTube TV? Right now, we're not able to control live TV on YouTube TV. Really, as far as streaming goes, the services we work with are Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, as well as just YouTube searching. YouTube TV is another specific app or an additional functionality that we would still need to build. So we don't have integration with that yet.
Casey asked a question, can it also parse TV guide data for commands like Josh watched the Patriots game? Great question. So that's something that we have on our roadmap and we haven't built out yet. So right now for Comcast level control, you can ask for stations, so like CNN or ABC News like we talked about, channel numbers or channel call signs. Deep linking, which is kind of going to end content, we have available on streaming services. So that's through a Roku, and that would be Netflix, again, Amazon Prime, services like that.
All right, and Scott, you're asking about deep linking. Will that work with Control 4 native audio services? And that is something we're working on, but right now we don't have that functionality. So if you do want to do deep linking with music, you would need Sonos or Demon's Hios.
All right, I think we'll have to run back through these. I don't know if you see any other that stick out, Ned, or...
Igor is asking about commercial building management system integration. Right now, we're focused on purely residential. We do have integrators putting Josh into things like conference rooms, but but as far as being a fully commercialized product, as of right now, that's not something that we do.
Okay, why Crestron and Control 4 and not as much Savant? So Crestron and Control 4 we've worked really closely with to launch and build our integration. The Josh team actually does all the engineering work to build our integrations with these partners that we've talked about. And we don't have the right API access from Savant today. So something we're really interested in working on going forward. Right now we just support calling scenes with Savant. So we don't have native device control for locks, shades, thermostats, all of that.
I want to give a shout out to some of our integrators, Donnie and others. I see you guys helping to answer questions. Thank you guys for that. And it's really great to see all the excitement here. We are, I know we are pushing past the hour mark here. I know that you guys are busy. See if there are any other quick questions we can answer. Otherwise, like I said, we will go ahead and answer as many questions as we can here in the chat. And like I said, this should be available offline so you guys can review at any time later on. But I think that's essentially it. Like I said, and I think we should go ahead and shut it down, Scotty.
Okay, all right. So we'll just go ahead and keep answering in chat. But thank you guys for your time. We really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.